When my husband of 35 years passed away, my world collapsed. He was my partner, my best friend, the man who had built an empire from nothing but grit and determination. His absence left me hollow, my days echoing with silence. But as if grief wasn't cruel enough, what followed was a betrayal so sharp it cut deeper than death itself. The night after his funeral, I sat quietly in the living room, clutching his old sweater for comfort. My son, my only child, the boy I raised and loved, walked with a look I had never seen before. Cold, distant, almost arrogant. He leaned against the wall, arms crossed, and sneered, "Don't expect a dime from Dad's $100 million estate." At first, I thought grief was speaking through him. But then his wife joined him, a smirk curling her lips as she added, "We're in charge now." Her words sank into me like poison. These were the people I had considered family, the ones I would have given everything for. And now, at my most vulnerable, they showed me who they truly were, greedy, entitled, and heartless. The days leading up to a reading were unbearable. They strutted around the house as if they already owned it, whispering about investments, new cars, and luxury vacations. I was treated like an intruder in my own home. My son barely spoke to me, except to remind me of how useless I was without Dad. His wife, on the other hand, took pleasure in flaunting her supposed victory. She paraded around wearing my husband's watch, talking about redecorating her mansion. But what they didn't know was that my husband was not a fool. He had seen their greed, their lack of respect, long before his death. And though he loved our son, he had confided in me many nights that he worried what money would do to him. The day of the will reading finally arrived. The lawyer, an old friend of my husband's, sat at the head of the long oak table in his downtown office. My son and his wife sat across from me, their smugness almost unbearable. My son leaned back in his chair, whispering to her, "It's just a formality. She'll get scraps, if that." They both chuckled, but then the lawyer cleared his throat and began to read. The very first sentence drained the color from their faces. "To my beloved wife, who stood by me through everything, I leave full control of my estate, assets, and properties. She alone will decide how and if our son benefits from what I've built." The room fell silent. My son's smug grin collapsed into shock, his wife's smirk frozen in horror. I felt my breath catch, tears threatening to fall, not from sadness this time, but from overwhelming vindication. The lawyer continued, detailing how trusts were set up in my name, how shares, accounts, and businesses were all tied to me. My husband had ensured that I wasn't just protected, I was in charge. Every last cent of that $100 million fortune was under my discretion. When the reading ended, my son exploded. "This isn't fair," he shouted, slamming his fist on the table. His wife hissed, "You can't do this. You're old. You don't know how to handle money." Their entitlement poured out like venom, their true characters on full display. I stood slowly, my hands shaking but my voice steady. "Your father saw who you were becoming. That's why he made this decision. He wanted to make sure his life's work didn't fall into the hands of greed." My son stared at me, eyes burning with rage, but beneath it I saw something else. Fear. He had built castles in his mind, castles made of money he thought was his. And with a single sentence, those castles crumbled. His wife tried one last time, softening her voice, pretending to care. "We just thought as a family we'd share in the responsibility." I looked her straight in the eye. "You thought wrong." That night, I returned home, my home, and for the first time since my husband's death, I felt his presence again. He had protected me, even from the grave. He had seen through the lies, the masks, and left me the power to decide what was just. In the weeks that followed, my son tried to apologize, calling me, writing letters. But apologies rooted in desperation are never sincere. His wife, however, was unrepentant. I learned she had already been bragging to her friends about their fortune. Now, she avoided me, humiliated by the truth. I did not cut my son out completely, but I set boundaries. If he wanted help, he had to earn it through work, respect, and humility. I would not allow him to drown in greed. My husband's empire was not a gift to be squandered. It was a legacy, one I would protect with everything I had. Sometimes betrayal comes not from strangers, but from those you love most. But sometimes justice, too, comes when you least expect it. My husband may have died, but in his final act of love, he gave me the strength to stand tall, even against my own blood. And that day in the lawyer's office, when their faces drained the color, I knew. Betrayal had lost and love had won.